Et il faut continuer de suivre les consignes maintenant si on veut avoir des chances de pouvoir profiter de l'été dans quelques mois. Sortez seulement si vous avez besoin de faire l'épicerie et encore là, essayez d'y aller le moins possible. Ça s'applique à tout le monde, peu importe où vous vivez ou ce que vous faites dans la vie. Cela dit, certaines personnes sont en mesure d'en faire encore plus parce qu'elles possèdent des compétences ou des ressources dont on a besoin en ce moment. Par exemple, on offre des emplois à temps plein aux réservistes des forces canadiennes. Comme ça, si nos communautés ont besoin de plus de soutien, on sera prêt. Santé Canada recrute aussi des bénévoles pour prêter main forte à nos travailleurs de première ligne. Et, il y a quelques semaines, on a demandé de l'aide à des entreprises pour produire des articles qui sont très en demande. Depuis, près de 5000 entreprises canadiennes ont communiqué avec nous pour offrir leurs services. De la part de tous les Canadiens, merci. C'est vraiment inspirant de voir tant de gens qui veulent contribuer. Over the past few weeks, almost 5,000 Canadian companies have stepped forward to help fight COVID-19. On behalf of all Canadians, thank you for stepping up. As countries around the world grapple with this pandemic, the demand for critical supplies like test kits, ventilators, and personal protective equipment is going up. To keep our frontline workers safe and care for Canadians with COVID-19, we need a sustainable, stable supply of these products, and that means making them at home. With our plan to mobilize industry, we're helping companies retool, repurpose, and innovate to fight COVID-19. We've already signed letters of intent with a number of partners to produce the things we need, and today we have more good news to share. We're working with Thornhill Medical, CAE, Ventilators for Canadians, and a group led by Starfish Medical to produce up to 30,000 made-in-Canada ventilators. These purchases will help increase our capacity to make sure these life-saving machines are made right here at home. We're also working with Nobel Prize-winning researcher Dr. Art MacDonald, who is leading a team of scientists to develop ventilators that are easy to make. And to produce medical gowns and establish new supply chains right here in Canada, we're teaming up with over 20 companies, including Arc'teryx, Canada Goose, and Stanfields. One thing that is particularly inspiring to see is just how many companies are not just producing these goods, but innovating. For example, Autoliv is looking to make medical gowns out of material they'd normally use to produce airbags. En même temps, notre gouvernement continue d'acheter des masques pour protéger nos professionnels de la santé qui font un travail extraordinaire. On a commandé des millions de masques chirurgicaux auprès de plusieurs compagnies canadiennes et on appuie l'entreprise Medicom qui va augmenter sa capacité de production de masques N95. On achète également du désinfectant pour les mains et Santé Canada a autorisé la vente de plus de 85 de ces produits aux Canadiens. Certains articles vont prendre plus de temps à fabriquer que d'autres, mais à chaque semaine, on franchit des étapes importantes pour augmenter notre capacité de production. Et je tiens à remercier le ministre Baines qui fait un excellent travail sur ça ces jours-ci. Je sais que plusieurs personnes s'inquiètent d'une pénurie de matériel. Vous regardez ce qui se passe dans d'autres pays et je comprends vos préoccupations, surtout si vous ou un proche travaillez dans le milieu de la santé. Je veux vous assurer qu'on fait tout ce qu'on peut pour éviter que ça se produise. Our government is working around the clock to ensure that our frontline workers have everything they need to save lives and stay safe. While we're working to secure critical equipment from Canadian sources, we're also in touch with other suppliers around the world who want to sell to Canada. We're expecting 500,000 masks from 3M tomorrow, and we're working as fast as we can to get them to our frontline workers. From the outset, our priority has been the health and safety of all Canadians. So whether you're making medical gowns, delivering ventilators, or treating a patient with COVID-19, we have your back. We're going to be there for you. We also have a 3-point economic plan. It supports business owners, including through new loans, while safeguarding jobs with the wage subsidy and helping those who no longer have a paycheck with the CERB. Yesterday evening, our government proactively shared our proposed legislation on wage subsidy with opposition parties. I know House leaders will be speaking throughout the day to reach an agreement for the House of Commons to quickly pass this legislation, which will give much-needed financial support to Canadian workers while helping employers to keep their staff on the payroll. A lot of work has been done since we announced our plan to subsidize wages. We continue to rely on your input and feedback as we refine it, and we'll have more details to share very soon. Yesterday was also the first day people could apply to receive the CERB. On that note, I want to recognize the tremendous work done by the public service, who processed hundreds of thousands of claims. They're working around the clock to get Canadians the help they need as quickly as possible. And I also want to remind everyone that if you were born in April, May, or June, today's the day you can apply. Finally, as some of you will know, today marks World Health Day and National Caregiver Day. This year, I'm especially grateful for our healthcare professionals and caregivers who are working day and night to keep us safe and to care for our most vulnerable. As Canada confronts this pandemic, many have pointed to our healthcare system as a major asset. Ours is a country where health is a right rather than a privilege, and that's something of which we can all be proud. But our healthcare system is only as strong as the people it employs. Whether you're a doctor or a nurse, someone who keeps our hospital clean, or a home care worker, thank you for taking such good care of us. Thank you for everything you've done over the years to help so many of us start a family, overcome an illness, and enjoy longer, healthier lives. We do not need a pandemic or a special day to recognize your essential contributions to this country, but I hope all Canadians will join me in expressing our deepest gratitude. I hope Canadians honk a little louder when your shift ends today and add another rainbow to their window. Du fond du cœur, merci à tous nos aidants naturels et à nos professionnels de la santé. Merci.
Merci beaucoup, Monsieur le Premier ministre. On va maintenant commencer la période de questions par le téléphone. Modératrice, c'est à vous.
Merci. Thank you. The first question is from Peter Mazeroux from The Hill Times. Your line is now open. Votre ligne est ouverte.
Good morning, Prime Minister. I want to go back quickly to ask you about your decision on March 16th to close the border to foreign nationals. The health minister had been saying for more than a month by that point that there was no benefit really to doing that. It wouldn't keep Canadians safe. You explained your decision at the time by saying that the advice you'd been receiving from public health officials had been evolving. Can you tell us a little bit more about how exactly that advice changed?
I appreciate that your question is taking us back to March 16th, but I'm focused on today and I'm focused on tomorrow. There have been a lot of reflections on what is done in the past, and we'll certainly keep reflecting on that. But everything I'm focused on right now is how to make sure that people are getting the help they need right now, how to keep Canadians safe, how to get through this particular time, and that's what I'll stay focused on.
Follow-up question?
Yeah, sure. We just looking for some clarity on how exactly the public health advice has been changing, how, the information coming from these officials has been changing and where they're getting it from.
This is a never-before experienced pandemic that is presenting new challenges every single day, new facts, new data every single day, and throughout, we're making decisions based on the best advice that those health officials are giving us. Obviously, this advice is based on modeling, on facts, on what's happening in other countries, what predictions can be made around what might help, what could make a difference. And as that evolves, as the information evolves, of course, we're going to keep adjusting and updating our approach. We've done that from the beginning, and we will continue to do so.
Merci. Prochaine question.
Thank you. Merci. The next question is from Christopher Nardi from the National Post. Your line is now open. La parole est à vous.
Good morning, Mr. Prime Minister. I want to come back quickly. You mentioned earlier that a group of companies are going to be teaming up to produce 30,000 made-in-Canada ventilators. Does that mean that you expect that we're going to need to use, at the very least, 30,000 ventilators throughout this pandemic?
What we've said from the very beginning is we need to be ready for any circumstances and every circumstances, and the opportunity to make sure that we have ventilators available if we need them is going to be extremely important. So we have told these companies across the country who've put up their hands to go ahead and get building ventilators as quickly as possible and as many as possible in case we need them in Canada. We certainly hope that we won't be needing all those ventilators, but we also know that there are countries around the world where they are not able to tool up local production to create more ventilators. They're going to be reliant on a global supply that's already stretched thin, and if we end up making more ventilators than Canada needs because Canadians continued to stay social distancing, continued to follow best health advice, that'll be great news, and we will have ventilators to share with other countries that are facing more difficult circumstances. For us, doing more right now, doing quicker right now, is really the only option.
And
Nous
how
reconnaissons,
quickly do you... Oh, sorry.
juste une seconde. Nous reconnaissons que on est dans une situation où il faut se préparer pour le pire. Nous avons demandé aux compagnies canadiennes qui se sont portées volontaires de créer des produits, d'en créer beaucoup et de les faire rapidement. On n'espère pas avoir besoin de tous ces ventilateurs, on n'espère pas avoir besoin de tout l'équipement que le Canada va produire, mais on sait que même si nous, on n'en a pas de besoin, il y a peut-être des pays dans le monde qui vont en avoir besoin, même si nous, on arrive à contrôler cette épidémie. Alors, notre décision dans presque tous les cas, c'est d'en faire plus et d'en faire plus rapidement parce que c'est ce à quoi les gens s'attendent.
As a follow-up, I wanted to talk about your wage subsidy program. Yesterday, you mentioned that you mentioned that yesterday you passed a bill to the opposition for consultation. Does that mean that a bill and Parliament needs to be reconvened in order for that program to actually go forward?
Much of the wage subsidy is going to be embedded within the Income Tax Act, so that does require us to move forward on parliamentary legislation, and that's what we're talking about right now with parliamentarians.
Merci. Prochaine question.
Thank you. The next question is from Christy Kirkup from the Globe and Mail. Your line is now open. Votre ligne est ouverte.
Good morning, Prime Minister. Has the United States granted a full exemption for its import restrictions, or is the situation with the company 3M a one-off?
We continue to work with Americans. As I've said, we've had constructive and productive conversations that have assured that this particular shipment comes through, but we recognize there is still more work to do. We're going to continue to highlight to the American administration the point at which healthcare supplies and services go back and forth across that border, and it is in both of our interests to ensure that we continue working together with integrated supply chains that move back and forth to ensure that we can continue to protect Canadian healthcare workers while they continue to do the things they need to do to keep Americans safe. Okay. Nous reconnaissons à quel point c'est important de continuer à souligner aux Américains qu'on a un système, une frontière extrêmement intégrée. C'est des bonnes nouvelles que les envois de 3M sont en train d'arriver, mais nous devons continuer de travailler pour s'assurer que l'administration américaine comprend à quel point c'est dans notre intérêt à nous deux de continuer le libre-échange de biens et matériaux essentiels pendant ce moment difficile.
And on another matter, what is the federal government prepared to do if COVID-19 ends up spreading like wildfire in communities like Abington First Nation, or also known as Fort Hope in northwestern Ontario, given its housing crisis, and it's been on a boil water advisory for more than 6,800 days?
From the very beginning, we have been concerned about the potential impact of COVID-19 on rural, remote, Indigenous communities that could be extremely vulnerable because of pre-existing challenges around housing and healthcare, but also vulnerabilities within the population of elders and people with respiratory challenges. That's why, from the start, we've worked with the AFN and with communities across the country to ensure that we're sending more money, more community resources to those areas, and we will continue to respond in every way we possibly can to help those communities that are beginning to deal with COVID-19. We recognize that there are particular vulnerabilities that we need to work very carefully with, and we continue to do so. Okay. Nous avons reconnu dès le début à quel point les communautés autochtones à travers le pays pourraient être plus vulnérables à cette épidémie à cause de situations préexistantes, à cause de distance et de manque de soins de santé. Donc, nous avons fait beaucoup déjà pour essayer de sécuriser ces communautés-là, mais nous reconnaissons qu'il y a encore beaucoup à faire et on va continuer de travailler avec eux.
Merci. Dernière question, modératrice.
Merci. Thank you. The next question is from Manon Cornelier from Le Devoir. Your line is now open. Votre ligne est ouverte.
Bonjour, M. Trudeau. J'aimerais savoir, les banques ont annoncé qu'elles réduisaient leur taux d'intérêt sur les cartes de crédit, mais c'est seulement pour les personnes incapables de payer le montant minimum, et c'est seulement pour la période où elles ne peuvent pas le payer. Et pendant ce temps-là, les intérêts continuent à s'accumuler quand même. Donc, la personne sort de cette période de difficile avec une dette alourdie. J'aimerais savoir si vous trouvez que c'est raisonnable ou non de s'en tenir à ça alors que les taux d'intérêt sont plus bas, de la part d'une industrie qui a affiché 45 milliards, quelque chose comme ça, de profit l'an dernier.
Depuis le début, nous sommes en conversation avec les banques pour les encourager d'en faire plus. J'ai parlé souvent à ce podium de l'importance de baisser les taux d'intérêt de carte de crédit et on est content que les banques ont pris des premières mesures, mais on reconnaît qu'on pourra en faire plus, on pourra en voir plus. C'est pour ça d'ailleurs que le gouvernement du Canada est en train de travailler aussi sur d'autres solutions pour donner de l'accès au crédit à bas taux pour les individuels. Et on va avoir plus à dire dans les jours à venir, j'espère.
Est-ce que ça veut dire... Mais il y a aussi, là, vous avez fait des achats de blocs d'hypothèques assurés. Ça aide les banques aussi. Est-ce que vous allez exiger plus des banques en échange de ce soutien qui leur est offert?
Les banques au Canada,
quand même les moyens, hein?
Les banques au Canada dépendent d'une économie en santé et de Canadiens qui réussissent. Ils savent que si on fait face à des moments extrêmement difficiles pour les Canadiens, pour les entreprises, c'est eux aussi qui vont souffrir en fin de compte. C'est pourquoi on les encourage à en faire plus. On continue d'avoir des discussions qui sont vraiment axées sur le besoin des banques d'en faire plus. On reconnaît qu'ils ont pris des étapes, mais il y a toujours plus à faire. À chaque jour, on voit que cette crise devient de plus en plus un grand défi pour tout le monde.
Prime Minister Janet Silver, Global News. Yesterday, Dr. Tam said one should wear a non-medical mask if physical distancing was not possible, but there's still a lot of confusion about when and where one should wear a mask. Maybe you could clarify for Canadians regarding non-medical masks, whether a person is pre-symptomatic or asymptomatic, should they wear a non-surgical mask when they go outside, even if they think they can physical distance?
I think those are exactly the kinds of questions that people should be taking the advice of medical experts from. I am not a medical expert. What I have heard from medical experts is that the most important thing is for people to stay home. If they do have to go out, they need to keep 2 meters apart and look to go out as minimally as possible. We need to wash our hands regularly. We need to cough into our elbows. These are the things that we know will slow and arrest the spread of this disease through this country. My understanding of what Dr. Tam explained yesterday is that if people want to wear a mask, that is okay. It protects others more than it protects you because it prevents you from breathing or speaking moistly on them. Oh, what a terrible image. But it actually is something that people can do in certain situations. Our focus, though, is making sure that people don't think that wearing masks can mean that they don't have to social distance as much or can go out more often. The advice remains: stay home and keep 2 meters apart.
And also, when your government saw the spread of COVID-19 in China and Asia back in January, did your government start procuring extra medical supplies then? Because it seems that Canada was not prepared and did not secure enough PPEs for our hospital workers.
I think we're seeing right now that the entire world was unprepared to have as much PPE as needed. Some places are facing far greater shortages than Canada. We have worked extremely hard to step up both on our procurement of PPEs, but mostly on increasing the Canadian production of personal protective equipment and materials like ventilators and testing kits. We recognize that this is something that we're incredibly lucky that Canadian companies are stepping up, and in the coming weeks we will have secure supply for many of those products from here in Canada. In the meantime, we continue to work to bring in the equipment that is going to be necessary to keep our healthcare workers protected and our frontline workers protected across the country.
Bonjour, Monsieur Trudeau, Christian Noël de Radio-Canada. L'annonce que vous avez faite aujourd'hui, notamment à propos des ventilateurs, ça va être prêt quand? Est-ce qu'on sait si ça va être suffisant pour répondre à la demande? Parce que vous ne semblez pas le savoir. Et comment est-ce que ça, c'est rassurant pour le personnel de la santé qui l'attend?
Certainement que 30 000 ventilateurs, c'est un gros chiffre. On espère que ça va être beaucoup plus que suffisant. Ce serait de très mauvais scénarios quand on se retrouve dans des situations où on a besoin d'autant de ventilateurs. Mais on sait que de préparer à l'avance pour les pires des scénarios, c'est juste ce qui est responsable. Donc, on sait que ces ventilateurs vont être prêts dans les semaines et les mois à venir. On va continuer de travailler avec eux pour avoir une idée plus claire sur quand on va pouvoir avoir ces ventilateurs à travers le pays. We recognize that 30,000 ventilators is a large number of ventilators, and we certainly hope that we do not get anywhere near that number. But we find it much better to be prepared and to create these pieces of equipment that are going to be necessary in Canada and certainly elsewhere around the world. We foresee those ventilators. There's a number of different suppliers coming in a matter of weeks, some in a matter of months. But we know that creating these is going to be extremely important to be able to handle the future paths of this epidemic.
La compagnie Huawei va nous donner des masques, des respirateurs, alors qu'on est un petit peu en situation de tendue avec elle. Est-ce que le Canada va accepter les dons d'équipements de Huawei? Est-ce que aussi vous n'êtes pas inquiet qu'il pourrait y avoir un sous-entendu de quiproquo, notamment sur le réseau 5G ou sur le cas de Menwanjo?
Nous allons recevoir des dons et de l'équipement de différentes compagnies. Nous sommes contents que les gens nous en offrent. On va les utiliser à condition qu'ils sont à la hauteur des besoins et de la rigueur auquel on s'attend de l'équipement qu'on donne à nos travailleurs de la santé. Et on accepte ces dons très ouvertement. Mais non, on ne s'attend pas à ce que ça affecte nos décisions. Ça n'affectera pas nos décisions dans les années à venir sur d'autres enjeux. Okay. We are happy to be receiving donations and shipments from many companies in Canada and around the world. We need to make sure that equipment is to Canadian standards, and we will make sure that it gets to the healthcare and frontline workers who need it. That is our priority right now. But receiving goods from a particular company won't necessarily imply at all that we regard different situations with that company any different down the future.
Hi, Prime Minister. It's Annie Bergeron-Oliver with CTV National News. There are a lot of people who are sitting at home right now who are dealing with depression, anxiety, and stress, whether it's because they can't figure out how to pay their upcoming bills, they're dealing with COVID-19 on their own, or they've lost a loved one to the virus and can't have a funeral or a celebration of life. Why hasn't your government done more in terms of mental health support, and what specifically will you be doing for those people?
First of all, we know that the priority has been to get help out to as many people as possible. And with the various measures we put forward, from the wage subsidy to the Canada Emergency Response Benefit, I know that has gone a long way towards alleviating some of the stress people are facing. But people are facing really difficult times at the same time. Whether it's kids who are stuck alone and not able to play with their friends, whether it's seniors who are worried about their own vulnerability, or just Canadians who are really worried about their situation and their future and are feeling alone and are feeling really challenged. We need to be there for each other. That's why, as I said a few weeks ago, reach out if you need help. There are support lines, there are measures in place to give us positive reinforcement and support. But each of us individually can also look out for our neighbors, look out for our loved ones, have more conversations, try to create a supportive system where we're there for each other, where we're going to get through this together. It is a difficult situation, particularly difficult on a number of people. We need to make sure that we're caring for each other, and of course, we have done things and we will continue to do more to make sure we're supporting Canadians through this difficult time as everyone does the things necessary to support our healthcare workers, to keep them safe and to minimize the impact of this disease.
And a growing number of police forces and bylaw officers right across the country are now starting to lay fines and charges to people who are not obeying physical distancing measures. Do you support fining individuals who are not following social distancing measures? And with a number of people now being issued these tickets, does that indicate to you that many people still are not taking this pandemic seriously?
We know that one of the best ways to ensure that this pandemic is as short as possible, is as unserious or as non-consequential as possible, that the fewest number of Canadians die, that our healthcare systems don't get overwhelmed. We need to stay at home. We need to engage in social distancing. That has been the message for weeks now, and it will continue to be the message for the coming weeks. We need to make sure that everyone is doing their part. Recognize that lots of police forces and municipal governments and provincial governments are looking at ways of ensuring that people understand how serious it is. And we, of course, expect people to use good judgment, both on behalf of citizens trying to make sure that they're social distancing and not going out if they don't have to, but also on enforcement officers in terms of applying fines. We're all in this together. We need to get through this together. We need to be there for each other, but we need to make sure everyone's doing their part as well.
So is that a yes or no that you do support?
Nous reconnaissons que ce qui est essentiel dans ces situations-ci, c'est de s'assurer que les gens continuent à garder leur distance, à rester à la maison en toutes circonstances si possible. Nous savons que c'est la meilleure façon de passer à travers. On voit qu'il y a des services de la police et d'autres qui commencent à amener des pénalités et des contraventions pour les gens qui ne sont pas en train de suivre ces consignes. Je pense que c'est important que les gens soient motivés et encouragés et qu'ils sachent qu'il y a des conséquences s'ils ne suivent pas ces consignes. Les plus graves conséquences, ça va être plus de Canadiens morts, ça va être plus de stress sur notre système de santé. Mais s'il y a des gens qui utilisent des contraventions, on s'attendrait à ce que, comme on demande aux Canadiens d'utiliser leur bon jugement, quand quoi faire, quand sortir, quand ne pas sortir, on s'attend à ce que nos corps policiers aussi utilisent leur bon jugement par rapport à quand donner des contraventions.
Prime Minister, Tom Perry from CBC News. I'd like to ask you about testing for the virus. What's holding up Health Canada from approving serologic antibody testing? Apparently kits made in Canada are being used in the United States. And I guess more widely, what's keeping Canada from adopting a policy of rapid wide-scale testing to try to get this under control?
As I've said over the past many weeks, rapid, wide-scale testing is an essential part of controlling the spread of this virus. Canada is doing very well compared to many, many countries around the world in terms of the amount of tests that we're doing, but we know we can and we should be doing even better. That's why nationally, every day we're testing more people than the day before, and we're going to continue to ensure that provinces across the country are able to do those tests necessary. The serological tests are also something that is being looked at very, very carefully, tests for antibodies to see who has had coronavirus or not. But we're still in the early days of reflecting not just on the medical implications, but on the societal implications of those tests as well. But we are continuing to pursue every avenue as a way of getting us through this, keeping the numbers of Canadians severely infected to the lowest possible level, and of course to bringing our economy back strongly as soon as possible so we can keep doing the things that we love to do as Canadians. Nous reconnaissons que c'est essentiel d'amener plus de tests de dépistage comme stratégie, pas juste pour maintenant, mais pour le long terme, pour assurer qu'on a la COVID-19 sous contrôle. C'est pour ça qu'à tous les jours, au niveau national, on a de plus en plus de tests de fait et on va continuer à augmenter ces chiffres. On va travailler avec les différentes juridictions pour que tout le monde puisse en faire plus parce que c'est un élément essentiel dans la lutte contre la COVID-19. Il y a différentes stratégies, dont les tests sérologiques, qui sont en train d'être regardés aussi. On va continuer, comme j'ai toujours dit, de regarder toutes les différentes avenues pour arriver à une solution pour notre pays, pour qu'on puisse reprendre notre santé, nos activités individuelles et communautaires dans les mois à venir.
And a week ago, your government asked correctional officials to consider early release for some federal inmates to reduce the risk of COVID-19. Just like to know what's happened since then. And Correctional Service of Canada says they're still studying this issue, but there's already cases of COVID-19 inside federal institutions. So what's taking so long to act?
We have taken measures already at Corrections Canada to ensure that we're keeping inmates and corrections officers more safe from COVID-19. But we're still looking at other steps, and I'm sure Minister Blair will be able to have further updates on that in the coming days.
Merci beaucoup. C'est ce qui mettra fin à la conférence de presse d'aujourd'hui.
Merci tout le monde. Bonne journée.